right now. A nice dichotomy of what it means to play volleyball in 2024.
Washington. Here's Thigpen, and she spanks one to that back right corner. And Kentucky has hit 21 now, 21-14, and another timeout for Ole Miss.
You know, there's just not a lot you can do here, Will. Ole Miss doing a nice job, a hard swing by Washington. The ball's going to come back over there, and then Kentucky does just a very simple volleyball swing, as deep and as far into the corner as you can go. You've got the most distance to work with there, just from a purely linear perspective, but it's also really hard to defend.
And you see the Kentucky huddle right now. We mentioned that middle of a 5-match road swing. They were at Tennessee, won that one 3-1. Then they swept Alabama last weekend in Tuscaloosa. Of course, here in Oxford this weekend, at South Carolina, and then at Georgia before they have 5 straight home matches. It's kind of crazy scheduling in SEC play this year for the Kentucky Wildcats. They come in with an RPI of 14. Ole Miss hanging out around 40. That's bubble territory right there. Of course, there's so much meat left on the bone, but you can kind of start looking ahead. And you talk about consistency. How about 124 consecutive weeks ranked in the AVCA top 25? That's 7 complete seasons. That's a program record.
You know, ranking the ranked is really that's a really good heading, because it's comparing the best to itself, you know, and how do you do that in a way that actually carries weight if you don't understand volleyball and the type of tenure that Coach Skinner's had, the type of teams, the athletes that he's had come through, many of them going on and if not getting into coaching themselves. Sarah Rumley at Appalachian State, standout setter, and a friend of mine actually. You've also got athletes that are ending up on the national team, playing on the Olympic teams. He raises such a pedigree in his athletes that you are ranking the ranked season in and season out.
You talk about competing nationally. We're talking about Jordan Daly earlier, number 5 for Kentucky. She competed at the USA Volleyball Nationals. A redshirt freshman out of Franklinton, North Carolina. And out of the break, a service air by DeLay. She's 5th in the SEC in service aces per set, but that one was airmailed. And 21-15 now with Summer Daniel serving. 6th on the Rebels in service aces with 11 so far this year. There's DeLay from the back court. Daniel will go back to Ammerman. Nice dig there by Tezzo. And the Rebels respond at the net.
It's going to have to be little chips like that, Will. A block here, a good swing there, an ace. You're just going to have to chip away at this Kentucky lead, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to give any ground here. They'll push harder from this point, so Ole Miss is going to have to fight. Wow.
You thought it was Christmas morning for Burgach on the overpass, but Kentucky ends up getting the point.
You know, and honestly, a rare kind of, I won't call it an oversight, a mental lapse from a player like Peyton Burgach. It happens to all of us, the best of us. She's usually very, very effective on those overpass balls.
Oh, yeah. She's 7th in the league in blocks, top 11 in blocks per set. So, yeah, she usually has a mission accomplished check at the net. And the Rebels with a miscue, and Kentucky now 2 points away from taking set number 1. Hammerman had a couple kills against the rivals Wednesday night. There's a service air as Sarafa. That one sailed out of play.
Washington serving Rebel.
Washington still looking for her first kill of the afternoon. Has a dig and a block. Coming off a double-double the other night with 21 kills, 17 digs, and a service air makes it set point for Kentucky.
Emma Grove serving for the Wildcats.
So Emma Grome will serve for the set. The senior out of Loveland, Ohio. And a service error by Grome. You don't expect that. She's two-time All-American in 2021, and then last year was a second teamer in 2022. Ole Miss huddle after that first set.
Cut down on unforced errors. You know, there's not a lot that Kentucky's doing that's any different than Mississippi State, South Carolina, Tennessee, you know, Alabama, LSU, any of the other teams that Ole Miss has already faced so far this season. Ole Miss has to cut down on errors on their side of the floor and play their style of volleyball.
Wilson with the first point in set number 2 as she had the set-winning kill to wrap up the first set. And there you see Wilson hit 278 with those 7 kills against Bama. A solid year, right at 150 kills. And there is a service error again for Emma Grome.
Serving for the Rebels.
She won the SEC Setter of the Week 6 times last year. Not surprising. She was the Player of the Year in 2022 in the SEC. That is saying something, a setter. And there's a nice set there, and Thigpen put that one away. Thigpen, a team best 291 hitting percentage. And now Thigpen missed 6 matches, had a knee injury against SMU. Washington climbing. Oh, what a dig in the back row by Tezzo. Delay sends one over. Tifono, the back set to Dice. Delay with a laser.
Really nice swing there by Delay. I'd love to see Cammie Neeson start a little bit wider, just a little bit wider, moving into the floor as opposed to the opposite. Though she's capable, certainly Delay has put balls down there towards the middle of the floor. You have less of a chance of, even if you do touch the ball, pushing it out of bounds if you're diving into the floor versus out towards the sideline.
Tifono to Dice. Out of play. Point Kentucky. Dice had 6 kills, 9 digs, and 5 blocks in that loss Wednesday night at Mississippi State. Thigpen serving. Was the SEC Freshman of the Week this week. And Dice. That's a nice swing and finish.
Cammie Neeson serving for the Rebels.
A touch there as Grome heads towards the sideline. You know, every gym's a little bit different, but the universal rule is that you can't play beyond the bleachers or the benches, the scorer's table. So that can look different in different gyms.
Neeson with the service error gives Kentucky the 3-point edge again at 5-2. Ole Miss hitting just 115 so far, 333 for Kentucky. And another service error.
Summer Daniel, Emma Ammerman goes in for the Rebels. Summer Daniel serving.
There you see Kentucky already with 8 service errors, Brittany. And we're just early on here in set number 2.
That's a lot of points to give away, too, especially when you're a team like Kentucky. You're working your tail off to earn these points, and then you're giving them away on things like service errors. Some of them have been aggressive, but some of them have not.
Well, here's Bevan, the 5'5" senior from Louisville. She's also a preseason All-SEC. Grome to Delay. Did it hit the line? Yes, it did. Wow. Even when Delay taps it, it's successful.
Same thing happened with Megan Wilson at the beginning of the first set. If it's close, you have to play it. If it's close, you have to play it.
not on the same page. And Ole Miss now finds themselves down by 5, and timeout by Bree Henry and the Rebels, and we will take it with them. 8-3, Cats lead the Rebels after taking set number 1.
Wants to argue there's no reason for a tournament. I think that is what makes college athletics so great. You end up in the tournament with teams that maybe wouldn't be there otherwise, but they won their tournament bid, and I honestly think that makes for a more interesting college athletics atmosphere. So I'm very excited for the tournament to come back next year.
Ole Miss now down 9-3. You would expect a discrepancy in attack percentage, and that's been the case so far. Kentucky at 359. That attack error will not help the Rebel cause. It's down now to 067. That's got to be turned up if they have any thoughts of coming back in this one.
You know, service and honestly defensive ball control look pretty good for Ole Miss right now. They're just not, there's not a lot of carryover between how well they're passing and then how well they're swinging. Oh,
man. How about that dig by Bevan? And there's Neeson. Neeson says, hey, I'll up you one on the dig.
That's heads-up volleyball right there. Nice job by Cami Neeson keeping the ball off the floor, and Emma Ammerman as well, simply taking it high off hands. You know, you don't aim for a kill. It certainly works out nicely that happened, but you're keeping the ball in play and trying to be aggressive with the placement.
Neeson, as I mentioned earlier, no one has more digs this year in the Southeastern Conference. Delay. Grome, big pin in the back row. Neeson with the bump set to Meyer. And the Rebels with a much-needed point.
Shayla Meyer in for the first time this match for the Rebels, contributing already on the kills tally, excuse me.
She's zeroing in on 200 kills this year. Third on the team in digs. She's 17th in the SEC when it comes to kills per set. And Delay, speaking of kills, needs to be her middle name. She's second in the SEC, a little over 4.5 kills per set. And Delay with that powerful serve. Grome, the back set. And Boldema, a little slide there. Nice touch. Cats now leading 12-5. Delay, a service ace. She's 5th in the conference in service aces per set. And the SEC Freshman of the Year. Crank that one.
Would love to see Cami Neeson step in front of that ball, both as the libero, but to free up Shayla and Nia in the back row there for Ole Miss. You know, that's the other side too, Will. The error there by Delay. When you have a topspin serve as aggressive as hers, it's high risk, but it's also high reward. We saw an ace immediately followed by an error.
You okay with that? You like the high risk, high reward?
As long as it is nearly zero, yes, I am perfectly fine with that from an objective standpoint.
Grome tried to get a little sneaky, but Ole Miss was right there. That was Meyer. And here's Bergach. Collision there in that back row for Kentucky. Daniel goes back set to Ammerman. Was there a touch? No, there was not.
Kentucky.
And Kentucky up 14-7.
Emma Ammerman, I think, really wanting Coach Bree Henry to use that challenge card. 2 or 3 players for Ole Miss saying there was a touch. I couldn't tell immediately off of her hand or from the spin of the ball. We haven't had any challenges, actually, now that I think about it, this match yet.
No, none. And a point for the Rebels.
Violation of Kentucky. Point. Obey.
Goldema back in for Kentucky. You saw her come in.
Tufono serving.
Julia Dice and Mokuhana Tufono step on the floor again for the Rebels as well.
Tufono serving. That was one thing we knew talking before we came on, Brittany, that we would have two outstanding setters. In fact, Coach Skinner was talking about how impressed he was with what Tufono has done this year and has kind of changed the whole feel for that Ole Miss offense. We've got a little delay here. Down official. There's a lot of writing going on right there.
A lot of writing. Clerical error. We'll just call it that, clerical error.
I like that. We'll go with that. Here's Tufono serving. Big pin. That angle. And it found the floor. And Kentucky to 15 first here in set number 2.
Not a whole lot you can do with that deep corner shot. Big pin, 5 kills, 3 digs to go along with so far in the match today.
DeLay leading everyone with 9 kills. Not surprising by the SEC leader in kills. Oh, Ratliff. Oh, DeLay though sends it over. Dice was winding up and tried to let one fly, but that Kentucky defense with some other ideas.
Big swing coming back down there. That was after a nice scrappy defensive effort by Kentucky on what could have been 1 kill closer to 1,000 for Sasha Ratliff.
Rome again with a service error. I know that's going to be a point of emphasis for Coach Skinner and company. Quite a few. They're going to be close to double digits right now for service errors for the Cats.
You might be right. I think they might have 10.
Yep. And that error gives Rebels back-to-back points. So here's the Rebel leader in service aces this year, Shayla Meyer serving. Delay to Thigpen. Big smile by Brooklyn Delay. Hey, I got an assist. I can dish it out besides finishing.
Big Pin doing a really good job there of seeing the hands, big hands in front of her, and going up and swinging high. There's not much you can do defensively to keep that ball off the floor.
Thigpen serving, the #1 ranked recruit out of North Carolina. Oh, the short set, and it works perfectly. Tufono to Ratliff. As she gets closer and closer to 1,000 career kicks, she's now 3 away.
Anyway, it hits the floor, it counts. A little bit off the tape there, but trying to move the ball around. A little bit different look for Ratliff. Used to seeing her go up, even if it's on 1 foot behind the setter. A little less so this year as the knees and the shoulders get older. Happens to all of us.
I'm with you on that. Washington sends it over. And Burgach has done it again. She was 8th in the SEC in total blocks last year. She's among the best this year in the conference again. Ole Miss actually has doubled up Kentucky on total blocks. Trailing those 17-12 as Neeson serves. Neeson, the bump set to Washington, who is still looking for her first kill of the afternoon. And Burgach with her 3rd. And the Rebels are within 4, Brittany.
Great job there by Peyton Burgach. Just a high snap on the ball. A very, very high, almost a 2 ball. Higher than that even. Keeping the ball in play, bettering each contact. That's what you want to do whenever the ball comes to you, and Burgach showed exactly why that's important.
Grome to Delay.
Point, Wildcats.
That is a lethal combination, folks. Grome leading the SEC, top 20 nationally, a little over 10.5 assists per set. short set. Brgach was trying to find the donut there, but she comes back and blocks.
The floor, just disciplined defense.
Wilson. And that is her fourth kill of the afternoon.
Kentucky.
As Bree Henry now finds herself down by 5 here in set number 2.
Switching up things a little bit too, Ole Miss keeping Julia Dice and Summer Daniel, or rather allowing Julia Dice on the floor for a substitution there.
Point. Ole Miss. Leah Washington serving for the Rebels.
Grome to delay.
Point Kentucky.
I wonder, out of the over, 300 kills now this year by delay, I would say the majority would be from Grome. You can see why Grome was the SEC setter of the week this week, I should say. Well, that's a nice back set to Brgach.
Brgach with the kill. Point. Ole Miss.
You hit back in the day. That back
Back
set.
in the day.
Yeah. Well,
Not off of 1 foot. Not often off
okay.
of 1 foot,
All right.
though.
You didn't need to finish the paragraph. I mean, but no, I love that back set. Always makes it challenging for the defense, and the Rebels like the vibe right now.
I do, and I was just going to say it feels as if the score should be switched. The way Ole Miss they are covering their hitters. Ole Miss really stepping it up on the blocking side of the ball for them. The defensive side showing out a little bit more. And you do have some big swings by middles, a little bit more activity out of Peyton Brgach, Sasha Ratliff. But overall, I think Kentucky, the message here is simply to do what they do well and then tighten coverage, especially that primary coverage right around their hitter.
See, already 8 kills, total blocks, I should say, for Ole Miss. So that's been a bright spot for the Rebels here today against a Kentucky squad looking for their 22nd straight match win in this series. The last 2 years they've been both in Kentucky, in Lexington, and Kentucky won in 4 sets. The last time they were here in Oxford, it went 5 sets. What will we have on tap for today? By the way, Kentucky, we talked about them in the Open, winning 7 straight SEC titles. They're picked to finish 3rd this year. Big pin out of the timeout. Here's delay. That's wide. And the Rebels have cut it to 2.
Aggressive shot selection there by delay. That line was certainly open, though it was the more narrow path. Sometimes you can make some really impactful kills there, though.
Brgach serving too long.
Point Wildcats.
And the Cats back up by 3.
Ava Sarafa back on the floor and serving.
In case you're wondering, the Rebels' last win, it was a sweep in Lexington back in 2010. So here's Sarafa. That's got a chest. Yep, I was saying that was sailing as well. Rebels back to within 2.
For as tight as this game is, Kentucky really needs to stay tight when they can stay tight. Just a 2-point lead here, and you see 12 total service errors on the match today.
Delay. Got it. Blocked right back at her. That's Meyer. That was sure impressive.
Just consistent. Shayla Meyer doing a nice job of tracking her hitter and then taking away a large area, but not so big that she leaves a gap.
Big pin got rejected. Dice and Ratliff were there.
You know, this is a little bit of the tempo I think that Skinner was talking about. Ole Miss not doing a whole lot, but they are playing their style and they're imposing their will at the net. They're a good blocking team, and Kentucky's going to have to not be so rattled by that, be able to side out here and push things along.
Delay, that's Neeson in the back row. See where Grom will go. She'll go to that left pin and thick pin. 22-21 Kentucky, and you're right. Skinner was talking about that speed. It's very streaky, and you can get easily tripped up by it.
You can. You really can. You get wrapped up into thinking this is how fast I need to go, and you make silly errors, or you try and set more quickly than your offense is ready for, or swing more swiftly than you really need to. How
about that bump set to Julia Dice? And Dice delivers, and we're tied at 22.
Little hole there right in the donut of the floor. Julia Dice going up. Just a nice topspin ball. Didn't have a whole lot of speed on it, but enough to find some real estate.
Rebels looking for a lead. And it won't be, as Kentucky comes right back. A nice answer. The tip at the net. And Wilson.
Some great touches, like you said. I think 2 in the last, maybe 3, but 4 points for sure Ole Miss has had like that, where Kentucky's gotten their points simply because between Ratliff and Dice, the ball's gotten jumbled up.
There's Thigpen serving with a 1-point lead. Dice was climbing. Nice job by Thigpen in the back row. And then there's delay, but Neeson keeps the point alive. And now Washington will send it over. Back to delay. Blocked again. Oh, tough break for the Rebels. And it's now set point for Kentucky and a timeout Ole Miss. We talked a little bit earlier about the fact that Kentucky has won the last 21 in this series, and when you look at the series history, it dates all the way back to 1977. And Kentucky, when you win the last 21, you know you're going to have a decisive lead in the all-time series. And Ole Miss looking for their first win against Kentucky since 2010.
You know, and really the series dating back to 77, I was talking with my husband about this the other day, just the nuances of sports that I don't understand or that he doesn't understand. I'll ask about football, baseball, that type of thing. He'll ask about volleyball. And he said, was it always rally, or what was it like when it wasn't rally scoring? And that's, you know, 1977. I said, you had to win the ball and then you had to serve to earn the point. And he said that must have taken forever, you know, and how many different numerical changes. Games went to 15, then they went to 21, and then 25, and then we went to 30 even when I was in college, and that took an eternity. And now we're kind of back to 25. He said, yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah,
that's an impressive series history and a lot of different iterations of the sport within that time.
And of course, you go way back with Coach Skinner. Actually, Coach Skinner recruited you. When that
long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time. You know, a lot of weight falls on Nia Washington's shoulders, but you've got a really effective middle in Sasha Ratliff too. So I think it's stay disciplined with an eye towards the outside.
Aisha Thigpen serving for the set, and a service error. And Ole Miss still has the pulse here in set number 2.
Faith Burgos checking in for the Rebels. Neeson serving.
Neeson, second in the SEC last year in digs, leading the way this year. Grown to Wilson, and an attack here, and the Rebels come all the way back and to tie it at 24, and that's enough for Craig Skinner. Timeout, Kentucky. What has changed here? How has Ole Miss come all the way back to tie this thing?
Kentucky hasn't done as great of a job controlling the controllables. When you put a swing on the ball, you have options. You can choose to be super aggressive and maybe make an aggressive error, but Kentucky's had some unaggressive errors, we'll say.
Last time out, you see the Bulldogs, the arch rivals, knocking off the Rebels after Ole Miss won the first set. And you see the RPI rankings coming into that one. And I know there's still a lot left in the schedule, but you start looking at RPIs and you want good wins, obviously, and you don't want bad losses. But when you look at the RPIs for Mississippi State and Ole Miss, that was not one that will help things, certainly.
No, it won't. And honestly, at this point now, if you're Ole Miss, you're hoping for Mississippi State to finish out their season strong so that loss becomes less prominent. It's not an insurmountable thing by any means, but Ole Miss is really going to have to tighten it up and pull out some wins that maybe RPI ranking would suggest that they shouldn't. Today would be a great opportunity for them to do that.
Saw Kaylin Newsom having a double-double for Mississippi State to help the Bulldog cause. And, of course, we talked about Nia Washington with those 21 kills. And those 17 digs, by the way, tied a career high. She had 63 total attacks on Wednesday nights. She's obviously the go-to for Ole Miss, and it's amazing the Rebels are having this kind of success here in set number 2. Washington, I don't believe, has a kill yet, which is shocking. But that was obviously a point of emphasis for that Kentucky defense.
You know, I would argue, Will, that maybe that's a reason that Ole Miss has had more success on the offensive side of the ball, because they are moving things offensively away from Nia Washington to other equally producing players, even if you're having 2 or 3 in mass together to make that same number that Nia Washington typically produces.
Wilson out of the timeout, the short set. She sends it over, and Kentucky now has set point.
And in previous matches against other opponents this season, she puts a lot of power behind the ball, but it is a different look than, say, Nia Washington. Just to compare two similarly positioned and producing players, Nia hangs in the air and puts a little bit more pace behind the ball, where Delay, while she might hit that fast, she's hitting a lot harder, or it feels a lot harder. And I think that's one of the hard things when you're a defender and it comes to, well, an outside is an outside, they swing cross. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes it's the timing if you're a blocker as well, and moving the way the ball moves around the block. And for Delay, she's consistent in what she does, but she moves positionally around the floor, swinging a lot from the back row as well. It can be hard to keep tabs on her.
They go to Delay for the first 2 swings of the third set, and Ole Miss defends it well. And from the back row, Nia Washington, it just went out of play. That was close. We might have a challenge. Yes, there's Bree Henry with a challenge, because, I mean, I hesitated on the call. I thought it had found the line, but
it was certainly close.
Yes. And we'll see, of course. We got technology working.
That Hawkeye says that is something else.
I mean, it's obviously technology soaring, and it really has helped out. I mean, it's the same technology that they use in just about every professional league. And the initial ruling is ball out. So we'll see if Bree Henry will win this challenge. Our first of the afternoon.
The previous play called Point Kentucky.
So it's still Point Kentucky. So it held up at that angle. It is about as close. Looks like it snagged a little bit of the line there. But that's how we start set number 3. Tafono to Ratliff. And the attack air gives Kentucky the first 2 points of set number 3.
It's good connection there between Tafono and Ratliff for Ole Miss. That ball, you saw Moki saying, that's me, keeping the ball a little bit too far off the net, pushing it over more towards the plane of the net with the height that Sasha plays at.
And now 3-zip Kentucky. Tezo will continue her serve. She's 8th in the SEC in digs per set. Team leading when it comes to the number of digs. She was named to the all-freshman team a year ago. Tafono goes back to Ratliff. Wilson, nice dig by Tafono. Players diving all over the floor, and an error by Ole Miss now gives Kentucky a 4-zip lead here in set 3. Rebels got to be careful right now, Brittany. Already down 2-0.
Ball control has been a little bit lax for Ole Miss here. You saw Cami Neeson take a ball there that should have been fairly routine. Pushed it too tight to the pin.
Grom. And Ratliff a block on Boltolma.
The wingspan Sasha Ratliff has allows her to be able to put just enough of a touch on that ball and many others in her career besides and get that block for the Rebels.
Another block by the Rebs. Delay down the line. Delay. You can see why. I mean, just looking at her, just her stats. Second in the SEC in kills per set. Third in the conference in points per set. Fifth in service aces per set. She can stuff the stat sheet, that's for sure.
The first true line swing we've really seen out of her today also.
That's true. Washington. There is Washington, and that has to feel good for Nia Washington.
A response to Delay's powerful line shot there. Nia Washington getting one of her own, landing in front of Tuzzo there in the middle of the floor. Just a smart swing, an aggressive shot.
Delay. Too strong, or was there a touch? There was a touch at the net.
Tough to see from the, I did not see one, but we don't have the best angle for that either.
No, we're high above the court here at the Gillum Center. And Delay will serve. Match best, 12 kills and 3 digs so far today for Delay. And Washington with back-to-back kills. Boy, if they can somehow get Washington to start cooking with some of that oil that she's been cooking with lately, that would definitely help the Ole Miss cause. Service error by Daniel.
Jordan Daly, Ava Sarafa, and for Kentucky, Sarafa serving.
Tefono to Bergach. Nice job by Thigpen. Just that campfire, she found it right there in the middle.
Love to see Julia Dice go with 2 hands on that ball.
Yeah.
Probably not going to get it up off the floor a whole lot further, but more control over it at least.
Sarafa serving. Tefono to Washington. It's just out.
That's an unreal angle, Will.
I was just getting ready to talk about
and that was close, too.
Yes. You're not supposed to be able to do that.
Don't tell her that.
Oh, I know. I'm not going to tell Nia. Always has a smile on her face. The junior from New Orleans started her career at Iowa. Ooh, Bergach showed some athletic ability to keep that point alive, and a point for the Rebels. She had to, in midair, had to switch from hand to hand, the opposite hand.
Nia Washington serving.
Nine 9-4, Kentucky. Washington serving. Tried to get the dig in the back row, but Daly, Jordan Daly.
Kind of a bang, bang, bang play
yes,
there.
Yes, it was. She had 636 in that sweep of Alabama last weekend with 8 kills. Only had 1 attack here. And she just gets lost in the shuffle with All the Stallions on this Kentucky squad. Grome back to Daly. Rebels were ready, and Washington from the back row. And it's going to be another point for Daly and Kentucky as the touch at the net. And the Cats now lead it 11-4. And looks like Ammerman is coming back in, as well as Daniel for Bree Henry. So what's the remedy for Bree and the Rebels right now?
You know, looking a little bit to maybe try and shake things up, spark a flame here, but also it's a different look offensively for the Rebels. They'll have 3 hitters in the front row now with both Summer Daniel and Emma Ammerman coming in.
Rebs get the point there as Neeson leaves. Nice job by Meyer keeping the point alive. Ammerman swinging, and it was stuffed at the net. Daly was there, and also Thigpen. 12-5 Cats.
Really seeing kind of a loss or a drop in momentum, Will, on the Ole Miss side of the floor. Kentucky not doing anything different or special or more pronounced than they did in the first 2 sets. Staying consistent, which I think Coach Skinner will have to be happy with, other than a few moments throughout the first 2 sets, really staying pretty true and consistent to what they do.
And Thigpen with a service ace. Her dad's the co-defensive coordinator. That's Ammerman. Ammerman with her 2nd kill of the afternoon. She will leave. Tufono is back in. And Tufono will serve. Had 40 assists for the 9th time this year. That was on Wednesday night against Mississippi State. Oh, Washington tried to keep the point alive, and Meyer couldn't track it down. And a point for Kentucky.
Ole Miss really needs to do make a very concentrated effort, I'll say, in calming down, slowing down, and then playing their style of play, playing their pace, not letting too much of what Kentucky's doing or not doing determine what the Rebels are able to do on their side of the floor.
Grome to Wilson. Tufono to Washington in the back row. What a dig by Tuzzo to keep the point alive. This time, Dice got it blocked. Meyer, was there a touch? No. It looks like point Wildcats. And it's now 15-6.
Waiting to see if I'd see another challenge there from Bree Henry. Looked like there was a touch, but again, we don't have the best view. And sometimes, honestly, in the speed of play, it's not worth the challenge. That's not to say that you don't think you'd win or you don't want the point. It simply isn't worth breaking the team's momentum or stride.
Grome, the back set to Wilson. Neeson with yet another dig. Dice went soft on that opportunity, and that swing by Wilson is wide. I think Craig Skinner, though, is going to challenge. I think he saw a touch. Yes, a challenge coming up for Coach Skinner and Kentucky.
Your attention, please. The previous play is under further review. Kentucky is challenging a net ball.
So whether or not Ole Miss had a net call, there's a touch on the net. Kentucky, yes, they have 7 losses, and yes, against some tough opponents. They've played 4 top 5 teams, 5 top 10 teams in non-conference play. Let's look at this. Was there a touch? Yep. I think he's going to win that challenge. Is it like right there near the forearm?
Forearm. Sasha Ratliff's right forearm, maybe.
Yep.
Right or left. And
Skinner was, I mean, it was right there near him, so he saw it right away, and he's expecting to win the challenge, and he does. You know, in the last 6 years, in October and November, this is a crazy stat, Brittany, but when the leaves begin to fall, Kentucky certainly doesn't do any falling. They soar. They're 102-11 in the last 6 years in October and November. That's 90% winning percentage.
It's certainly the best time of year to turn it on. You don't want to peak in preseason.
No.
Progressively getting better as the season goes along.
And another point for Kentucky. I did ask him about that, and he said that obviously focus is a key, but he gave credit to the strength and conditioning folks as well. They had 4 or 5 this in mid-October had PRs. So obviously that's
it all
been
goes
an asset.
hand in hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. All part of the equation. Dice. Boy, against most teams that would have been a kill, but not against Kentucky's defense. And in transition, Boldema. Redshirted last year. She had an ankle injury during the preseason. Getting close to 140 kills this year. More than 65 blocks, averaging, in fact, leads the team with a block per set. Dice sends that one out of play. And Kentucky now 6 points away from winning the match. Service error. Ole Miss hitting just 0-29, and Brittany, the Rebels have won their last 18 when hitting 250 or over. That dates back to the start of last year. Obviously, that's not going to happen today.
Never say never, Will.
Never say never. I like that. That's right. Wow. Boldema tomahawks it.
You know, we've seen Boldema get some really, really big kills today. She hasn't had the volume of sets, but she's been impactful whenever it has come her way. And really, you can't ask for more out of a middle than that. Be consistent on the block and score points when you're set.
There's Vivian Miller into the game as she provided a little bit of a spark Wednesday night down in Starkville for Ole Miss. 21-7 though, Kentucky now zeroing in on another sweep. Kind of a helpless feeling for Bree Henry, isn't it?
You know, you really can't, honestly, any coach in athletics now, you're putting your faith in 18 to 22-year-olds, and that's terrifying by any measure.
That's true.
But really, you just have to do the best you can in the moment, you know, just the next best decision. And I think that today's lineup being a little bit different, one, in response to what happened with Mississippi State, but two, trying to find, you know, the 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 even players that are going to work in concert with each other, and that may be different with as much parity as there is, especially on the pins for Ole Miss. The player that's hot today may not end up being that way on Wednesday. Leaves a whole lot up in the air.
Ole Miss will be on the road the next 2 matches. Delay. Cashes in on a nice, finds that little soft spot. And now she will serve. Ole Miss at Auburn on Wednesday and then at Florida next weekend. Service error for delay. You know, coaches, they got to have something to talk about. I know that will be one of the talking points for Craig Skinner, right?
Yeah.
These service errors today.
It's you want to force the other team to earn their points, and 15 service errors is a lot. They've had their share of aces, but it's not been close to that wash 0-0.
Miller, who's had Quite a career here at Ole Miss. Has seen limited action this year, though. Where's the number 7 on the back of that Ole Miss jersey? They go back to Miller. Grome. Not quite on the same page with Delaney Hogan. First time we've mentioned Hogan's name. 6-foot senior, middle. Transfer from Xavier. In fact, the only transfer this year for Craig Skinner. We talked about it off air on how impressed you are with so many coaches diving into the portal, but that's not the game plan for the most part for Craig Skinner.
It's certainly part of the college athletics landscape now. Nice swing there by Vivian Miller.
Yes, it was. Down the line.
Just chip away.
Yep.
Ole Miss is going to have to be practically perfect here, down 12 with Kentucky 2 points away from sealing this thing.
Summer Daniel with her 12th service ace on the season. Neeson to Miller. This time Daniel goes back set to Ammerman. Speaking of the back set, that's delay. And it is match point for Kentucky. Don't forget our next broadcast for Ole Miss will be against Oklahoma. Kentucky continues this road swing at South Carolina and at Georgia. They'll finally come home on November 8th against Texas A&M, coming off that big win the other day against Texas. Delay. And Ammerman says we're not done yet, playing some volleyball this afternoon. Nice block there by Ammerman.
Again, not insurmountable, but you've got to be perfect. Team to keep your eye on always, but especially this year. And Ole Miss is capable. They're just going to have to find a rotation, find a lineup that works for them.
And with that, we will put a bow on our coverage here today. So for Brittany McLaughlin and our outstanding crew, I'm Will Coleman.